when this all happened 38 years ago.
Wow.
So thank you, George, Christine, for allowing me to be here tonight. So I guess the story begins, and I remember it just so incredibly well. It was a Wednesday morning. My husband and I had had quite an aggressive argument, and I told him that I'd had enough of this kind of love, and I would leave on Monday. And he looked at me with shock, and I just turned around and walked out and started getting my stuff together. Thursday morning, I was in the shower, and I noticed this black lump on my leg, and up till then it had just been a mold. And I noticed it kind of was a bit like cauliflower looks, little lumps, and it had raised, and it was black, and it was incredibly itchy. And I remembered that someone had said to me, if ever you have a mold that changes color, you need to get it looked at. And it's like, big deal, you know, I mean, I never got sick, I didn't have a doctor, who do you go to see, you know, whatever. So anyway, Thursday night, I went up to buy some milk, and right next to the IGA was a doctor's surgery. There was nobody in there, not even a receptionist, and I thought I'll go in and just see if the doctor can look at it. So I won't go into the story of what happened between Thursday night and Monday morning, because that would take me 15 minutes to tell you the drama. But Monday morning, the phone rang at about 7 o'clock, and it was the doctor, the surgeon, that had actually done the biopsy. And he said, Mrs. Chamberlain? I said, yes. He said, I want you not to eat anything, drink anything. I want you to come in immediately. We've scheduled you for surgery to amputate your leg. He said, you have black melanoma stage 4, and you've got a maximum of 6 weeks to live. It's like, you kind of wake up to the phone ringing and the doctor telling you you've got 6 weeks to live. It kind of gets your attention. Wouldn't you agree? And you're kind of in shock. And I just said to him, well, what do you mean? He said, well, if we amputate, we may be able to extend your life. He said, but when it's stage 4, it's really too late. And so I just, in shock, I hung up on him. And immediately your life kind of goes in front of your eyes. And I thought about the story that I'd heard once about the bucket of water. And you stick your fist in it, and then you pull your fist out, and you look to see, you know, the imprint that you made in the bucket of water. And I thought, gee, that's the imprint that my life has made to this date. And I really came to the understanding that I needed to change some stuff in my life in order to change some stuff in my life. And what happened then was, that was Monday morning. Monday I got a hold of my friend who was a naturopath, and I said, what do I do? And he said, well, there's a clinic in Mexico that treats cancer. He said, why don't we give them a call? So we phoned them up, and Mildred Nelson from the biomedical clinic, she said, come yesterday. It's like, I don't have a passport, I don't have a visa, I don't have any tickets, I don't have any cash available. But, you know, all of those excuses pale into significance when you've got 6 weeks to live. And so I did go to the biomedical center, and what they did was put me on a natural tonic and gave me a nutritional program to follow, gave me some supplements to follow. They treated the biopsy wound, and I was there for 10 days while they treated the wound, and then I came home. And so I've almost had 2 weeks of my 6 weeks gone. And while I was there waiting for the 10 days, I actually did go down to the Gershon Clinic, because I figured if you've got 6 weeks to live, you've got to get very serious about doing something. And so they explained their regime of coffee enemas to me, and that made a lot of sense. That nutritionally, if you're taking food into your stomach, if you've got plaque on the wall of your bowel, then the nutrients can't be absorbed out of your bowel. So you need a clean bowel for the nutrients to be absorbed into the system. And it's not only just about cleaning the bowel, but it's also about the caffeine going into the bloodstream and going to all the cells in the body and taking up the toxins that have been stored in the cells and then releasing them. So I just said, okay, well, if that's what I need to do, that's what I'll do. And it really was, I guess, you know, for me, I had attempted to reject my husband, reject my 3 kids that were 6, 8, and 10, I'd had enough of the world, and the only thing that I had left was God. And sometimes that's all you need, is just to have that opportunity to evaluate where you're up to and where your life is at that point. So the first thing I decided to do was to create a different relationship with myself where I could be at peace with myself. And I'll go through that journey in a minute. And also then to repair the relationship with my husband and to really understand that love is a two-way street. It's unconditional love on his part to me, but it was all the expectations that I have that wasn't being fulfilled. And while I was in Mexico, I came across another cancer clinic that was actually in Texas. And that clinic had put out a book called Getting Well Again, Carl and Stephanie Symington. And in that book, he talks about what's the benefit of your sickness. And I'm going, this guy has obviously never been given 6 weeks to live to say what's the benefit of your sickness. And I was like angry that somebody could be so hard. But he went on to explain why he said that. And in the darkness of the night when you can't sleep and you're thinking, could there be any truth in what he had to say? You become very honest with yourself for the first time. And I had to agree that there was truth in what he was saying. And he was talking about how, as children, we are programmed and we learn paradigms of belief that we then live out when we're adults. And I went back and I started thinking about it, and I thought, you know, it is so true. Because as a little girl, my mom and dad were incredibly poor. And my mom used to make soup because it went further to feed all the family. And she would get like a little offcut of fabric and she'd make me a dress and she'd be there cutting it out and she wouldn't have a pattern. And I'd come running in from school and I'd want to tell her something that was exciting and she'd say, you know, can't you see I'm busy? Don't want to lose concentration. Run outside and play. And my interpretation of that was, subconsciously, that things were more important than people. And my need for love and significance and care was not given to me. So I'd go outside and play, and, you know, you're out there playing with two brothers, and, you know, brothers are brothers, and you'd get pushed over, and I'd hurt myself, and I'd come inside crying, and I'd have real blood. And if I had real blood, then my mom would put down the scissors, put down the knife, and she'd sit down, and she'd put me on her knee. She'd clean it up, and she'd even put a real Band-Aid on it. Wow. And if it was really bad, then I'd get some of the cordial that was on the top shelf that was there for visitors only. And I felt so loved, so significant, and so important. And what that was doing was reinforcing to my little open child brain that for you to get your needs met, you had to have something wrong with you. So fast forward all those years later, when my needs aren't being met in my relationship, the subconscious goes back and says, how did you get them met when you were a child? Now, obviously, when you're mom, you can't just, you know, scratch yourself and put a Band-Aid on it. Life goes on, you're busy, busy, busy. And so the subconscious finds a way to recreate the scenario that it needs for you to have your needs met. And that's what this book was all about, and here I was living it out. And so what I had to do is find another way to have my needs met without being sick. How do you get your needs met without being sick? How do you find significance and fulfillment and love? And that's where I came to understand that it started with me, loving myself, accepting myself. And as the saying goes, to love your neighbor as yourself. So here I am back in Australia, and I started a massive research on the wellness industry. And what I discovered was that there wasn't much research back then, 38 years ago, on wellness industry. It was all about illness industry. And it was all about why Gershon and why Hoxsey had gone to Mexico, because the AMA had chased them out of America because it was illegal to treat cancer naturally. And it was illegal to treat cancer naturally in Australia as well. And so when the doctor found out that I was doing these enemas, he called me a few expletives and told me that I was totally stupid and that my bowels would never work again. And I said, well, I've only got 4 more weeks for them to work, so what's your problem? According to you. And when he told me I was a stupid idiot for not letting him do the surgery, he said, "You're going to die." And I said, "Well, your prognosis was die, and this prognosis you're telling me is die. So if I die this way, at least I die with my leg." So he wasn't very impressed with me. But in my research, what I found was that doctors weren't ever taught at medical school. It's not their fault that they don't understand prevention. They're not ever taught about prevention. They're not taught how to look after yourself. Because, let's face it, if people don't get sick, they don't have any patients. And if they don't have any patients, then they don't have an income. And it's not that they want to be like that. It's just that that's their training, and they're living out of their training. So what I came to understand, that the cancer was not, it was only demonstrating externally, physically, that it was something that was happening inside. And since then, in the last 38 years, as I've worked with patient after patient after patient in my life coaching business, and when you ask somebody to identify what's the benefit of your sickness, what's happening in your life emotionally, what's caused this, then the inside healing can start. And I've just experienced that so many, many times. So what I found is that cancer can actually be a friend, because it can change your whole perspective of life. It can change your whole way that you see things. It can change your whole destiny. And so that was the first thing that I had to really come to grips with, was what is so important to me? What's my destiny? What's my purpose? What is something that is so important to me that I'm able to have the discipline of following the regime? And that was when I really came to understand that I wanted my life to count. You know, born, died, the dash. I wanted that dash to be meaningful. I wanted to be something that at the end of my life, I would know that I had made a difference, that my time here had been worthwhile. And so the first thing that I had to really look at was choosing love instead of living out of fear and living out of anger. And in choosing love, it means that you see everything through that lens of love, and understanding that when people do things differently than you, that they're just coming out of their programming, their paradigms, that's the way they're living. So rather than being judgment against them, to just release them to be who they were. So it was choosing to let go of my expectations of who people should be, and allowing them to be who they wanted to be instead of what I thought they should be. And the next thing was choosing to live out of faith and not fact. Because every time I looked at my leg, there was a hole in my leg. And I was on crutches for 12 months. And being on crutches, stretches whole sternum, your back, whatever. And that was the reality of where I was for that 12 months. And so not looking at the fact, but learning to live by faith. And so the way I developed that faith was by understanding that faith cometh by hearing, and that's where you can find testimonials. It gives you the belief that maybe it can happen for you. And so my husband found a verse in the Bible that says, "This sickness is not unto death, but that God would be glorified." So what he did was he typed it up, and he printed it off, and it was on that wall, and that wall, and that wall. And when you woke up in the morning, there it was on the ceiling, and everywhere that I looked, that's where it was, going into the eye gate. Because it had to get from my head to my heart. The faith had to get real to me, that it was something that I could really, absolutely, totally believe that what I was doing was going to see me through to the other side. And then the next challenge after faith was looking at forgiving. And, it can be very, very difficult to forgive when you're justified in your anger, when you're justified in your hurt, when you've got proof that people have done stuff wrong. But you see, that's like me drinking the poison and expecting them to die. It was poisoning me. And I had to let go of all of my justification, of all of my, they were wrong, and let go of that and forgive them. And I needed to humble myself sufficiently to go and say, please forgive me for the way I reacted to what happened. and I forgive you for what you did. And in that forgiveness, what I found was this incredible peace comes over you in releasing all of that stuff that was on the inside. And I mentioned that I had to find that passion because it's the passion that gives you the discipline to stick with the treatment. It's the passion that gives you the ability to do what needs to be done. And prayer and meditation was really a very big thing for me, asking God to make up my shortcomings because I like sugar and I needed to give up sugar and I needed to give up salt because sugar lives in a cancer environment. Sugar lives in a salt. Cancer lives in a sugar environment. Cancer lives in a salt environment. So I needed to give that up. And I needed God to take away the hunger and the taste buds. And he did. I had to create new habits. And one of those new habits was reading every day to strengthen me spiritually, to strengthen my belief. And a really, really important thing was to create a circle of people around me who were supporting what I was doing. Because so many people would say, oh, poor Yvonne, isn't it sad? 3 little kids, you know. And so their expectation was, isn't it sad, that I was going to be in the box. And so my husband very graciously just kept them away from me. And the only people that were allowed into that inner circle were people who were supporting me and encouraging me. And one dear lady in her wisdom said to me, yeah, I had cancer and I thought I was cured too. And, you know, then I got this back pain and I found out that it had gone, you know, into my bones in the back. And what had happened was I'd been out doing some gardening on one crutch. When you're out doing gardening on one crutch, what do you think is going to happen? Your back hurts. And immediately those old negative thoughts come back. It's cancer, it's gone into my bones in my back. Because that's what happened to her. And that's why you have to be so filling yourself with the positive, so surrounding yourself with positive people that reinforce you. Because people say things innocently that can totally undermine what you're doing. And another thing I learned is that you've got to learn to laugh a lot and don't take yourself so seriously. Because in taking yourself so seriously, you create tension and stress. And I heard a really, well, you know of Norman Cousins, who healed himself from cancer just by laughing, watching videos. And I heard a really funny story, but it's got an amazing application as well. This couple that I knew in the States, they bought their dream 22-foot yacht. And it had, you know, all their pieces and motor and zips and whatever in it. And they put it into Lake Michigan, ready to go. Beautiful sunny day. And for some reason or other, they just couldn't get any oomph out of the engine. And they're trying to work out what in the world is wrong. And, you know, they're out there trying. And finally, after an hour of trying to get this beautiful, brand new yacht to, you know, take off on 22-foot cruiser yacht, I finally pulled back into the marina and said to the guy, you know, would you just check and see what we're doing wrong? And the guy couldn't find anything wrong. And so one guy said, look, I'll just jump underneath and see if there's anything underneath that's, you know, the problem. And the guy came up choking on the water. He was laughing so hard. And the guy said, you haven't taken it off the trailer. Oh, shit. And we all laugh and we think, exactly. But you know what? Here's the reality. We learn about all the different alternatives of the way you can treat yourself naturally, of the way you can look after your body, of the way you can... We went to an Alzheimer's thing the other day, and, you know, there's 6 different major diseases that every single one of those diseases can be prevented by the same 5 things. And yet we don't have the discipline to do those 5 things. Then we come to the doctor and we want the doctor to fix it. So we've got all of these natural things that you can do, and we take those on board, but we've still got the medical trailer attached underneath. And here's the reality, that if you're doing drugs have got side effects, and then you're doing all this natural stuff, and then the natural stuff is trying to get rid of the side effects of the drugs, and you've got nothing left over to be able to heal yourself. You have to make up your mind, what are you going to do? Which way, which road are you going to go? It's so important. So, learn to laugh. Learn to laugh at yourself. Reduce the stress in your life. Work out what you can change and change it. And work out what you can't change and let it go. Let it go. Become a giver. You know, just give a smile. Give a thank you. Just let somebody go in front of you on the road. Let somebody else have the car park. Be a giver. And it does so much for your self-esteem when you look at people and they go, oh, wow, right? Because it's not normal for people to be generous. Start your day with gratitude. You know, wake up every day and just be grateful for your blessings of today. Count your blessings. Name them one by one. And it'll surprise you what God has done. And you know, here's one thing. You can't be depressed and sing at the same time. So I used to walk around the house singing all the time. And if you know this song, join me. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I say to myself, what a wonderful world. And it goes on. And I used to walk around the house all the time. What a wonderful world. And I'd answer the phone and I'd be so into the habit of saying, what a wonderful world. Instead of saying hello, I'd say, what a wonderful world. And it became my song. What a wonderful world. Because when you look at all the problems of the world, you can become depressed. But if you look at all the good stuff, you can be filled with joy. So our attitudes and the quality of our life is determined by our attitudes. Everything in life is the way you see it. You can see the glass half full, you can see the glass half empty. And either way, you're right. But it's a much happier way to look at it, as half full. And when negative stuff happens, as it will, see if you can find the positive in the negative. Just expect the best, always. And here's a real biggie. Make you speak positive. Because your words, your voice, is the highest power in your life because you believe what you say, because you know that you're right. And so one of the things that I had to really watch, because it's prophetic, the words that you say. Wednesday morning, I said, Monday I'll be out of here. Monday I was given 6 weeks to live. The words that you say, so powerful, especially when you say them in revenge or anger. Powerful. And so I learned, don't say, my cancer. Because my is something that you own. It's something that you look after. It's something that you defend. It's something that you treat with respect. It's mine. But if I'm trying to get rid of it, why is it mine? So I never called it mine. It was always this. And I challenge you to watch the words of your mouth. What are you saying? Words are prophetic. And then I had to learn to eat vibrantly instead of living to eat sluggishly. And the clinic explained it to me this way. They said, Yvonne, imagine that you've got a bank account. And your bank account is the nutrients that you put into it. And in order for your body to have nutrients that you put in, it has to digest. So let's say that digestion, no matter what you eat, takes 25 energy units. So you eat junk food for lunch, takes 25 energy units to digest it, and it gives you 5 back. Now you're 20 overdrawn. And you think, oh man, I really just had a junky meal today for lunch. I'll have a really good meal. So you go out to your garden, you get all of your organic vegetables, and you do a complete raw vegetable, vegetarian salad for night. 25 energy units to digest it, and it gives you back 40. Now you're just even, because you're making up for the deficit at lunchtime. And so they said to me, Yvonne, make sure at the end of every day you've got banking credits so that your body can defend itself, so that it has the ability to build the immune system, so that no matter what's going around, you can overcome it. So, eat healthy fats. Eat breakfast. I got rid of sugar. I got rid of empty carbohydrates. And I just really started looking at, everything that goes in my mouth to let it be nutritional. And that's why, I looked at taking quality supplements, because the food that we have in the world today just doesn't have the nutrients in it. And so for me, that was it. And then we've already talked about, detoxing the gut. That the gut is, the whole of your body is a reflection of what's happening in your gut. And so, if you're feeling sluggish, it's because the gut hasn't cleaned out properly. If you've got a headache, it's because your gut's dirty. If you've got pain in all your joints, it's because your gut's dirty. So clean out your gut. And it was really interesting because 38 years ago, I used to have migraines all of the time. All of the time I'd have a migraine. Like I'd be in bed with a migraine. And after I cleaned out the gut, for 38 years, I have not had a headache. And people said, oh, how do you ever handle doing all those enemas? Well, I don't know. The benefit's been for 38 years. It's been good. So clean up the gut. Happy gut, happy life. Breathe deep. You know, sometimes we breathe so shallow. And then your brain has got this dirty oxygen all the time. Your body needs oxygen. The cells need oxygen. So learn to breathe really, really deep. And let it out all the way down to here. Breathe in deep. And drink plenty of filtered water. Because all the stuff that they put into the water is not even funny. And I was just reading an article of one new thing that they've just discovered now in the US, and surely you could be depressed if you needed to be. They have now discovered that one of the additives that they put into the pesticides and the GMO, it has an effect, the runoff is changing the fish in the river from male to female. And now they're discovering that that's happening in mice that they're testing, and they're wondering, is that one of the challenges that we've got in humans? That this is changing the whole hormonal structure of who we are as people. And it's all additives. And it's protected by the government, right? Because of the taxes that these companies pay that keep the government there. So it's just really amazing. So exercise regularly, sleep 7 to 8 hours a night, like proper good sleep. And when you wake up in the night and you need to go to the toilet, instead of being cross with yourself for needing to go to the toilet, be grateful. My kidneys are working. Yay! My girlfriend had kidney failure. She's dead. Makes me very grateful for my kidneys that wake me up in the night. It's all about the way you see things. Challenge yourself. When was the last time that you did something for the first time? Learn to do something new. And that brings us back to the very beginning of Be Your Own Best Friend. So why me? That's the name of my book. I cover all of these things in a lot more detail in my book. It's because of who I have become along the journey. So as you go through this journey of recovery from cancer, thank you. So as you go through this journey of recovery from cancer, it's about who you become. What does the cancer do to you? Or what have you done to recover from the cancer? And so, for me, it's given me the ability to be able to take somebody's hand and say, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. And this is what I found. You don't have to be a victim. You can be a victor. Because I have been. And so I have 9 prerequisites that I'd like to read to you that have been really, really meaningful to me. Health enough to make work a pleasure. Wealth enough to support your needs. Strength to battle with difficulties and overcome them. Grace enough to confess your sins and forsake them. Patience enough to toil until some good is accomplished. Charity enough to see some good in your neighbor. Love enough to move you to be useful and helpful to others. Faith enough to make real the things of God. Hope enough to remove all anxious fears concerning the future. So here's the reality. Life is risky. We're all going to die. We're all going to die. But here's the challenge. Not living is the failure. How many people are simply existing? James Rowan said, life is not a respecter of persons. Life doesn't give more to those who need or those who deserve. Life gives to those who are willing to plant the seed, nourish the seed, and then reap the harvest. And that's what I would encourage each one of you to do, is to be out there planting seeds of hope, planting seeds where other people can come and be fed by the seeds that you plant and that you harvest. And then it's not about giving a seed, what it is about is teaching them how to plant their own garden so that they can draw from their own well. So thank you.
Where's the book? I'm just focusing on the book right now.
Yeah, upside down.
Upside down, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Now turn one over. There you go.
Oh, somebody asked me if I'm still married. It's like, yes, 38 years to the same man. But I've changed.
Wow.
Okay. So, should we talk about the product now, or should we have a...
Can I just ask how long, because like you were 10 days in Mexico, and then how long were you taking, is this product you were taking the whole time?
No, I wasn't taking this
No.
product.